Hello, everyone, and welcome to the premiere episode of our new podcast, Big Bearded Brooklyn Bros on the Bridge, a Star Trek podcast. I'm your host, Robert Edgeworth, aka the Cinema Junkie, and with me is my illustrious co-host, Big Mac. Mac, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm chilling as always, you know me. Um, Tonight we are going to be talking about the pilot episode of Star Trek, the one that started it all, The Cage, starring the late Jeffrey Hunter, as well as Major Barrett, and the late great Leonard Nimoy as Mr. Spock. For those who don't know us, me and Mac have been best friends since 1990, 30 years. The
Long
I
time.
just yeah. We're that's crazy. Like we met when we were both 6, and now we're both 36. So yeah, 30 years. Like that's crazy, right?
That's that's uh that's that's a long time. That just shows that that's from back in the day, A1 since day one.
Oh yeah, absolutely, bro, absolutely. To put it more in perspective, I had just moved to Brooklyn, to Bushwick section of Brooklyn to be exact, and it was a block party, and I didn't know anybody yet, so I was playing by myself with a Batman gun, no less, and this kid approaches me like, "Hey, that gun is cool. Hey, you want to play?" And I'm like, "Sure." And of course, that was you.
Of
And
course, guns are cool.
especially Batman guns.
Hmm.
And we became fast friends, and that led to being best friends, then best bros, and then it's been history ever since.
Jeez, when I think about it, you were at my wedding. Best man.
That's right. That's right.
You
I was the best man at your wedding.
you used to hang out with me when I babysitted my niece.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
she's like 21 now.
Jesus
So it's been a
Christ.
minute.
It sure has. I remember the days when she started speaking. I kept trying to teach her how to call you a fat bitch.
The
I
worst, the worst, the
know,
worst. But then,
I know,
then you
I
turned into Susie though.
know. Yeah, I was too. For some reason, I know she could not just stop calling me Susie. For some reason, it's like, why did she call me Susie? But it just stuck, and I just left it at that because I was like, oh, whatever.
How cute.
Uh, yeah, it was just the cutest thing ever. You know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah, lo and behold, obviously, going back to the fact that I was playing with a Batman gun, show that how much of a nerds we were. We're like official ghetto geeks. We were geeks before it became
Cool.
a cool thing. Yeah, it became cool to be a geek. Now geek is in and everybody's a geek, you know what I'm saying? But we were geeks when it was just like, ew.
You're a geek.
Yeah, ew, you like comics and sci-fi and cartoons.
You're
Ew.
Spanish. You're black. What are you guys doing?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
good
true.
times.
Yeah. Oh, those were the best times. Anyways, but yeah, we were huge geeks, and one of those things that we loved about our geek fandom was Star Trek. Star Trek was I know Star Trek is probably I'm more into it than you are, although I know you're into it too.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
I remember that time you wanted me to come hang out, but I was upstairs watching the Star Trek marathon on Channel 11, and
Right.
the only way you could get me to come hang out in the crib and shit was
As if
fucking you
I
have to.
put it on. But what I do, I put it on. I was like, all right, no doubt. Let's go. But and what I'm about to say, probably in the comment sections of this is gonna get crazy. I'm the biggest Star Wars fan of us two. You know what I mean? And that's
Right,
why it works.
right. Although I do love Star Trek, yeah, you are the biggest Star Trek fan, Star Wars fan of us. I love Star Wars, you know what I'm saying, but I honestly prefer Star Trek. I love it so much. It was probably instilled on me because my two uncles were huge Star Trek fans. My late
Mm,
great my uncle Junior, may he rest in peace, and of course
right.
Uncle Manny. My uncle Manny was a big Star Trek fan, and I loved it so much. And so that leads me into like how this show came about. Of course, I'm a Star Trek fan, and a friend of the show, Michael Cook, he on his podcast Video Night, he was doing Star Trek episodes where he was mainly talking about the Star Trek movies. He talked about episode parts 1, 2, and 3, and I heard it, and I was like, "Hey, if you need somebody to talk about Star Trek, I'm your guy." And he was like, "Nah, motherfucker, we all done over here. We good over here. You take that shit somewhere else." But nah, I'm just joking. Michael said, unfortunately, all the Star Trek episodes had already been recorded by the time he posted that episode. And I was like,
Right.
"Oh, I want to talk about Star Trek." So I put out this post, like, I wanted to do a podcast about talk about Star Trek, and would anybody be willing to listen to that if I do that? And you it was the first one to hit me up like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Matter of fact, let's do it. And I was like, all right, cool.
That's
So let's
it.
do
Let's
it.
do it.
Right. And then I progressively drug my heels putting this shit together.
Well,
And
nah, you know what? I think it worked out because we had to get the artwork done. See what we were gonna do.
right. How we're gonna do it. I mean, it literally came down to how the format would be, like how I would do it, like whether we would do it over a call or we would do it in person. Lo and behold, by the time I was able to make that decision, I had it made for me with this whole coronavirus shit. So we have no choice but to do it on call now.
I mean, 6 feet. We could get masked up and go 6 feet away. I don't know how that's gonna turn out though.
Yeah, true story. But yeah, that ultimately led to us here now, and here we are. And before I jump into the episode real quick, I'll go into a bit of the genesis of it all. The wink, wink, the genesis of it all for all my Star Trek fans out there. Of course, Star Trek was the brainchild of the late great Gene Roddenberry, who wanted to do this exciting space adventure, and he went to the network like, "Hey, I got this idea," and it was like, "All right, cool. Like, let's see what you got. Let's see what you got, bro." So he was like, "All right," and he put this episode together, and they was like, it's cool, but like it's a little too smart for people at home. So like, could you dumb it down?" And they was like, and he was like, "I." And then star Jeffrey Hunter was like, "Nah, bro, you got to pay me more money, because I'm not about to be doing no TV show." Because he got high to Diddy, you know what I'm saying, by that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like he was like, "I want to do movies, like." You think I'm gonna just do some regular old sci-fi TV show? I play Jesus Christ, for Christ's sake.
You paid me.
And yeah, so they was like, "I then whatever." So they went and they got another actor to play the new character of James T. Kirk, and that of course was William Shatner, and the rest was history. But we're going to be talking about the that premiere episode, that pilot episode, The Cage. Um, you had not seen The Cage when I recommended it to you.
I hadn't so my Star Trek repertoire, if you would say, was a lot of reruns of the original series late night because I was breaking night because I was a little shit. And then like I was like, oh, Star Trek is popping. Yeah, all right, I like this. And then the next level stuff was coming out, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine. So then I got heavy more into that, and you were like, yo, check out the original series. I went back, checked it out, and I still, because who doesn't have The Cage on it? And he was like, yo, that's the first pilot episode. Check it out. So we found it Netflix, and you said Amazon Prime. Not sponsored, but what up, guys? And I checked it out, and I kind of dig the cast a little bit more than the original cast.
I I don't know about that, but this cast was fine. I like Jeffrey Hunter as Pike, but we'll get into that in a second.
Right.
I really liked Major Barrett as number one.
Yep.
The and of course, who could forget Leonard Nimoy as Spock. Although we'll get into his portrayal of Spock in this episode,
Yeah, because
but
yo, but you're not mentioning like yo, my number one guy who I actually digged was the Doctor, man.
oh
The
yeah,
doc,
yeah, the Doctor was cool. Like he ain't no bones, but he was cool on his
he
own.
he ain't no bones, but I think he could have been something special. The bartender Doctor, I enjoyed his little time at the show.
Yeah, he was cool. He was cool. But what did you but first thing first, what did you think overall the first time you watched it? Like what was your take on the show?
So I guess since I'm watching it now, I'm flawed to the well. This is 2020. This was filmed back in the day, but obviously making it through that aspect of it, I kind of enjoyed how like all right. So when they were like, let's just say going warp drive, trying to get to the next spot, they kind of just faded in and out of the photo and then played the music
Yeah,
with
yeah.
like faded in and out galaxy. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I enjoyed that littleness, but then you also could see how it might have expanded once they got like William Shatner and got the go ahead and they could do a little bit more because it was looking a little closed in on that ship and on the bridge.
Yeah, 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 totally. He even had a regular ass clipboard, yo. Like
A
he didn't
regular
even have
ass
a
clip.
future. He didn't even have a future clipboard. Bro just had a regular ass clipboard. You
I
know
mean,
what I'm
how do you
saying?
futuristic a clipboard though?
Yeah, true story, true story. Now I guess it would have been like, I mean, the funny thing is when they got to the actual series, the series, they got to like what basically was like tablets.
Mm,
So it's like they kind of predicted the future a little bit there, you know what I'm saying? But
right.
in that premiere, I mean, it could be forgiven because it was a pilot episode, you know what I'm saying? This was like the start of it. So like,
Oh, there
yeah,
was a
this is
lot
what
of
kind of
stuff
gonna
in the
be.
pilot that you definitely had to overlook.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. One of but yeah, yeah, yeah. The story I liked, you know what I'm saying, the whole thing about entrapment of the human spirit and how everybody, just rebels against confinement, which is kind of ironic since we're talking about this episode, considering everything that's happening now, you know what I'm saying, in the
Right.
world, how people rebel against, confinement. But we're not going to get into all that because this is I don't want to
This
fucking
ain't that show.
yeah, this ain't that kind of show where we're sitting there talking about bullshit outside. Um, but I do want to go into Pike for a second now.
Okay.
How did you feel about Pike as a captain compared to like Kirk?
I felt like I got the vibe of Pike as being someone who was a captain for a minute. Like I worked for New York State. I've been there 12 years, and when you got time under your belt, you're tired, man. You don't want to make no more tough decisions. Like
Right.
like kind of checked out. Like I mean, that was the vibe I was getting, and maybe that was for the storyline of where they wanted to go with it.
Hmm.
But I didn't get the same. I got more of like serious cop haircut type guy than I get with Kirk. I get more of a average Joe who's probably running by the seat of his pants, but he got some luck on his side too, so he's good to go.
Yeah, kind of like Pike kind of came off more of as a tight ass
Yeah,
than
like
Kirk
he's a
did.
cop, he's a narc.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. Pike. The funny thing about it is that nowadays you speak of Pike and Pike has like this kind of fandom behind them where people just love Pike and that probably has more to do with Anson Mount's performance of portrayal of Pike and Star Trek Discovery. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Compared to like, you know, Jeffrey Hunter's portrayal of him in the show. Like we've only had 3 portrayals of Pike. There was Jeffrey Hunter's performance in The Cage. There was Bruce Greenwood's performance in the Star Trek movies by J.J. Abrams, and then there's
Right.
Anson Mount's performance in Star Trek Discovery, and that's probably where Pike
Hold
has
on.
seen his
Was he not in like the 2 parts Star Trek original series, like into the first season where they were
No,
having
he
like a who
no
played
he
that
is.
Pike?
Oh yeah. I forgot. That was
That's probably a nobody, but like you
yeah.
know,
That was a completely different actor, but
mm,
he was cast because of his resemblance to Jeffrey Hunter a bit.
right. And I
The
enjoyed Pike from J.J. Abrams. He was a jerk face, but
I mean he wasn't.
RoboCop,
Yeah.
come on, man.
Yeah. Yeah, Pike wasn't that bad in the two movies he was in. Like he kind of came off as more of like a father figure to Kirk in
Right.
those movies. You know, and then he was unceremoniously killed off in the second one. Spoilers if you haven't seen a movie that's 7 years old. But Sean Kenny was the actor who played the fucked up Pike in the Menagerie,
Right.
the wheelchair bound one. But yeah, like Jeffrey Hunter's portrayal of Pike in here was like, you know, he was like, you know, straight up and tight lipped, and you know, he was bound by duty, but like he was like sick of it, like you said, like, you know,
He's
he was tired
tired.
of being out. He was just sick of the shit, you know what I'm saying? He just wanted to be over with, and you know, he just wanted to get
And,
home.
and he probably also saw a lot of change if you think about it from like how this is supposed to take place. Like he's now the captain. I know he makes a remark in earlier in the episode when Yeoman like comes in and something like that, and he's like, you know, women shouldn't be on the bridge. And his number one looks up at him like, "Well, are you crazy, bro?" And he kind of like puts it on his face like,
Right.
it's a little different with you, but so you know he's seen a lot. He's probably just done with it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that was dead ass foul. Like he was like, I never get used to a woman being on the bridge, and it's like, damn,
Number one
Pike,
look at it like, really?
like you type chauvinistic with it, bro. Like what the fuck?
And then he had the face of
like yeah, my bad, babe. Like you know what I'm saying, like that. I was just talking about her. Like you know, I didn't mean you. You're different.
this long career, man. 20 years. I'm tired of it.
Yeah. I'm tired of this shit. But yeah. Matter of fact, let's go into number one for a bit. She was the first female like really seen like high command like that, and then
Right.
you know what I'm saying, like you know the very first episode, the pilot episode starts with um the number one officer being a female, and then
Right.
you never see that shit again for the
Nope.
longest time. Like
Nope.
you know,
Shut that down.
oh yeah, they completely shut that down. It was like, nah, bro, we can't have women on the bridge making decisions and shit. You gotta get that shit out of here, bro. And which is kind of fucked up because
Right.
Rachel Barrett, she was kind of dope as the number one on the.
Yo, she held it down.
She did.
Uh,
She absolutely held it down. You know what I'm saying? She
she held
did
it
her
down.
thing. Yeah, she did her thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, she was in charge. She didn't take no shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And
I
even
would have
like,
liked to have. Not gonna.
no, go ahead.
Now, I would have liked to have seen more of her, like, you know, as number one. That would have been dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would have been really ahead of its time. You know, at the time to have like a female being second in command. But
Right.
obviously, censors weren't gonna let that happen. You know, back in those days they were different. Women, they had to be, lower tier than the
And look,
men. The
they're
men
not
had.
they're not dumb. They even set it up so when Pike was going down to the planet, he was like, "Oh, yo, you can't come. You're number one. You gotta stay with the ship.
Yeah,
Sorry." Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So
yeah,
women won't be on the battlefield. Like,
yeah, yeah. Dead ass, dead ass. Yo, like, yeah, they're like he dead ass played her like that. Like, yeah, you got to stay up here. You got to stay up here.
you're number one. Sorry, sit down.
It's kind of almost like a stay your ass in the kitchen. You know what I'm
Right, and
saying?
it's which is fucked up. Like, but
Yeah, yeah,
that's how
totally.
they did things back in the day. Like, even the original series, there's so much male chauvinistic stuff running around in there. It's not even fun.
Yeah, totally. But instead of taking number one with him, he took his science officer played
Hmm.
Leonard Nimoy, the legendary Leonard Nimoy as Mr. Spock, and I definitely want to talk about Spock's portrayal because
I don't
his
know.
portrayal of his
You might
portrayal
not
of
like what I have to say.
his portrayal of Spock in this one is vastly different than his portrayal of Spock
Yes,
throughout the rest of the
yes.
franchise. He's a lot more animated and emotional. Like I love when later in the episode where they're trying to transport to the planet and only
Mhm.
number one and the yeoman get taken
Oh
and he's
yeah,
like the
yeah,
women, the women. He he's in
yeah,
his defense, he stated that he portrayed Spock as such because Jeffrey Hunter played Pike like kind of stoic, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying, and like reserved. So he felt like he had to be more animated than Jeffrey Hunter. And as whereas compared to when he was playing against William Shatner as Kirk, and Shatner, of course, being the underrated actor that he is, I'm saying, great actor. He portrayed him in a way that was able to leave Leonard Nimoy to portray Spock how he wanted to.
No, which is,
He was able.
and that's what it is in acting. Like, you play off of, he just didn't run good with um Pike, the original got his name a little high
Yeah.
right now. Because
It's all good.
I felt like his portrayal of his legendary character in the pilot was like, uh, not. I mean, it wasn't like bad, but it really, I was like, wow, okay, I guess I like him better in the original
Yeah.
series. Like, after this,
Yeah, like he's definitely his portrayal because it's more in tune with what your perception of Spock is. Spock is just like this emotionless Vulcan, whereas in the episode he's very emotional. He's almost kind of useless. You know what I'm saying? As compared to through the rest of the series, where it's
right,
like he can't figure out what the fuck is going on, and it's like, dude, you're Spock. You're supposed to know everything that's going on. You're
right,
supposed to know everything happening.
everything
How
you knew it was coming.
like you're supposed to know how to fix this shit. Like what I'm saying, this is why you're second in command. Like you're supposed to know how to solve all this shit. And in this episode, he's kind of all like, what's happening? Like when they can't leave the planet, and he's just like,
Right,
what? Like he's
the
all
ship,
confused and
the
shit.
ship. It's taking the data. The data.
Yeah, like, oh, it's yeah, like, and it's like, dude, what the fuck, man? Like, figure this shit out. You're Spock. But it's all good. Like, it's a little different. I mean, his portrayal of it is fine. Like his acting is fine, but it's just all like opposite of what we expect Spock to be because what we're used to. It's
But it's
kind of just
also a
like
pilot episode. They
right.
probably threw it together like, hey, we got to try to get this sold. Everybody, places, and go. Like,
Right. It's basically just it's like a demo. You're basically trying to give the idea to the networks
concept.
like this
Like,
is
yeah.
yeah. This is how it's gonna look. you know what I'm saying, to people. You know what I'm saying?
When you
This
throw
is
some
how
money behind it, it'll look way better. But this is where we want to go.
exactly, absolutely. You know, don't worry about this shit. Like, you give us more money, we'll fix all this shit. We'll fix
The
all of it.
fading in and out of photos will actually fade in and out. It'll be great. Trust us.
Right, like we'll actually have fucking the ship going through space. It won't just be like like just
Super.
like like just give us the bread, bro, and shit. We'll fix all this shit in post. All of it
Got
will be
you
fixed.
covered.
But okay, moving on from Spock for a bit. I want to go into probably the most important character in the episode is Vina, played by Susan Oliver. And what was your initial thoughts on Vina?
Yo, I felt like they hit the mark. If that was all right, so I'm expecting what I was getting by this time, like when she was introduced, even when she first got introduced, when they first saw the people that, and she rolls up, she's like, "Oh, perfect specimen." I was like, "Yo, she hits the mark. She's pretty. She got nice eyes." Like I
Oh yeah,
understood where they were going with that.
yeah,
But I ain't gonna front. At first, though, I was like, oh, "There's something wrong with this lady." Talking about specimen and stuff, like what's going on here? And then it obviously unfolds of like what is going on. I think I felt like she probably played her role really well as a distressed female trying to get a nigga to stay.
right, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. She's absolutely gorgeous woman. And she is very good in her portrayal of, like, she's tasked with a job. Her assignment is, to get Pike to stay on the
Stay.
planet. They need him to, repopulate, humans. You know what I'm saying? They give him the specimen. I mean,
Yeah, make a zoo of
with
humans. Yeah.
yeah,
We got it.
absolutely. And what happens is that there's a conflict within her because she really digs Pike. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it's an assignment for them, but it's like, yo, like, I dig this guy. Like,
Yeah, but
this guy's
she made it
handsome.
seem like they picked Pike for her, like, because they're all smart with their crazy ass heads and they know what the hell they were doing. They made like that situation happen because Pike was her like ideal guy. Maybe not by looks, but because they don't know what he looked like, but what she wanted in a man.
Yeah. Yeah, she absolutely dug Pike. Like, she dug him. Like, Pike was good looking, with those dreamy blue eyes, and like, his hair is he got that just beautiful black hair, and it's real, unlike Shatner's.
I mean, if he
And
paid for it, it's really his.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But nah, she was like, as it went along, she, like, you could tell she really dug Pike. She wanted to be with him. She was like, I want you to be my daddy, you know what I'm saying? He's like, nah, I don't want to do this. Like, like, yeah, like, I dig you, but I don't want to dig you in, like, this environment, you know what I'm saying? I want to take you
Right.
back to Earth, and I want to dig you there, like, in a real scenario. And she's like, nah, bro, I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? We gotta stay here with the asshead aliens. You know what I'm saying? And she's like, and he's like, nah, we gotta get out of here. You know what I'm saying? And she's like, nah, I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? It just becomes a whole big thing, and it's kind of devastating when you realize that the reason why she doesn't want to leave, because if she does, you know what I'm saying? Like, spoilers, for like an over 50-year-old episode. Um, like, it's revealed at the end is because she's, like, completely disfigured, and like
I was gonna
her,
say that it's so fucked up. Like,
yeah, like, it's really devastating. Like,
hit you with the
she's
bait and
fucked
switch
up.
real quick.
Like, yeah, she's got the fucked up face. She's got a hump. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, bro. See, I can't go with you. Look at me. Look, I'm a
And
hunchback
not
over
being
here.
shallow, but she knew what the world was about, and was like, I
Right,
can't go.
right. You know what I'm saying? She was like, I can't be down there on Earth looking like this. And he was like, and Pike's like, wow, that's fucked up. Yeah, just gonna leave her like that? And they're like, no, we'll hook her up. We'll hook her up. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it,
Yo,
Pike.
but are they really hooking her up, or they're just like they're putting in her mind that that's what she looks like? But if let's just say that species got wiped out and she survived somehow, she's gonna be the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like she is the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Right, you know what I'm saying? That's initially the issue, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, but for the time being, she could have her own little fantasy world, even though it is a fantasy, and
Oh, real talk.
living she's living a lie, you know what I'm saying?
That asks a big question. If you're a viewer watching it, is do you have a price? Because Pike could have said, "All right, I'm gonna stay here. Fuck everything else. We're gonna live in this fake world. They're gonna do whatever I want them to do. That's it. The rest of your life. That's it."
Right, absolutely.
On some Matrix shit. Are you gonna take the red pill or the blue pill?
Right, he's like, he could essentially have been like Cypher, like he wanted
Yep.
basically
Put
wants
me
to put her
back
back into
in.
the Matrix. Yeah, but he Pike couldn't allow himself to do that. You know what I'm saying? He's a man of duty and honor. So
He just
he
wanted to
knows.
retire like 20 minutes ago.
Right,
But like, all right, I'm here with this beautiful chick. We chilling.
right. But you could argue that he like basically this whole scenario, the situation probably, it kind of reinvigorated his spirit
Oh,
a
of
bit.
course.
You know,
It's the don't be careful what you wish for thing. Like he got a taste of what he wanted, and it's like, nah, man, are you crazy? I want to be out here on a
right?
ship that don't
Absolutely.
move through space.
Ship that's look like it's on puppet strings.
Yo, okay, so real quick, what had me a little nerd alert. So an episode was like something was said, and he was like the space vehicle, and I'm like space vehicle. Why wouldn't you say spaceship?
Right.
Why'd you say space vehicle? Like really? I know it's probably like mad small and minute, and then so there's a part in the beginning where Pike gets the message. He's like, "Nah, we're gonna go do what we got to do. We got our own people that need to be helped." Walks off the bridge. Two people are walking towards him, a girl and a guy. The girl's wearing like a summer sun skirt and top, and the guy got Bermuda shorts on and a like Tommy Bahama polo. And I'm like, that looks so out of place on this damn bridge on this ship right now.
Yeah, it absolutely does. You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that they're basically compared to like what the uniforms would look like later on in the series. Like they're fucking all Christmas turtleneck sweaters and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like they all fucking like they all look like they dressed up real nice for like Christmas dinner and shit, like the Christmas party. And they're fucking cashmere sweaters and shit.
Right.
But
The little
this
pins.
yeah, but this is the future, what I'm saying, with their Christmas sweaters and all the knobs and lights and buttons, what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
So why
So
you have niggas with Tommy Bahama shirts on and khakis? What are you doing?
yeah, because this is the
We're in
60s
space
version
right
of the future.
now. Like, what are we doing?
That's the funniest shit, like when you look at people in the 60s trying to predict what the future will look like.
Yeah.
And it's always some shit like that, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
But like
Demolition Man? Wait, what? Who said that? Not I.
but Demolition Man actually got some things right, you know what I'm saying? Like
It
they
was
got
1999. Taco Bell was supposed to be ruling the world. I know we get on topic, but that was
yeah,
1999 when everything was supposed to be crazy.
yeah,
And what
yeah,
Chicago?
like yeah, we were supposed to have Taco Bell was supposed to be premier restaurant,
Ruler of
but
all.
yeah, but we did get basically video chats and tablets and self-driving cars, you know what I'm saying, out of Demolition
Okay,
Man.
touche.
We
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 did
didn't get
we did get Elon Musk.
yeah, we didn't get the Taco Bell, or we didn't get the three seashells.
I'm glad we didn't
But
get the seashells. I
yeah,
might have
yeah,
took
yeah,
Taco Bell though.
yeah, like Taco Bell's fine with me, but I'm still not keen on the three seashells shit. That shit is like, what the fuck? But okay, let's go into the villains of this episode, the Telosians. Basically, the what I like to call the butt heads of the episode.
I mean, excuse me.
Yeah, you're
Their
good.
powers are like kind of bananas. Like when if you can put in a group of people's head some stranded survivors down to the rat-a-tat-tat of their clothes, I mean that's pretty dope. But it's not like I don't know. Like they blew a hole in the door. They just didn't see that they blew the hole in the door, but it was there. Like you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right, like they were kind of overpowered per se. Like you know, what I'm saying like the fact that they can control everything on the planet. They can even control the Enterprise and fucking
Yes.
and hovering above the planet. You know what I'm saying? Because the Enterprise tries to get the fuck out of there.
No, but
And,
see, okay, that's what I'm saying. The Enterprise, technically, there was nothing wrong with it. They made them see that there was something wrong with it.
that's right. That's right. That's right. You know what I'm saying? Like they made them think like
Because that's all
they
they
they,
could
they
do. That's all they could do.
yeah, absolutely. That's why. That's probably why. That's a good. That's a good reason to make. Was probably why Spock is such a dumbass at that moment because you know what I'm saying
He
like
sees
Spock,
logic. He's like, what's going on? I
like
got
Spock
you.
is like what the fuck is happening? You know what I'm saying? It's like your Spock's supposed to figure this shit out. It's because the Telosians sitting there like, nah, you're a dumbass Spock. You can't see anything. You can't
This is
figure this
what
shit
you
out.
see. This is
Yeah.
all you see.
You see nothing. But one thing that I find great about the Telosians, not just their powers but their design. They were originally supposed to be like crab-like aliens, but obviously the budget
Okay.
was too low for them to do that.
Thank God.
So they basically just gave them fucking butt heads, you know.
Fine. Like,
But
it
but
was weird, but I'll take it.
like it's kind of like butt heads, but like combined with like nut sacks. You know what I'm saying?
hundred
Like
percent more the
just
nutsack vibe, though.
yeah, like in the back in the back it's an ass, and in the front it's a nut sack. It's kind of
Right.
like the like the front of their head kind of looks like you ever like squeeze the base of your nut sack and like create like a nut sack bubble
I do
and
not.
like 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 I was a weird kid and shit, so I was just like, I wonder what my nutsack would look like if I did this and shit. So I squeezed the base where the skin is at and created like a nutsack bubble, and that's kind of what their heads look like, you know, with like the veiny part. But then in the back,
Right.
it's all a nice, in the back, it's like all a nice ass. It's kind of
Okay.
like yo, imagine dating a female Telosian, and she's like she's mad freaky dicky, and like she's with her boyfriend like, hey baby, I want to get freaky with you, and he's like, nah baby, like I'm not with it today. Like we could do something simple, like let me just get some ass and some head. She's just like, well baby, you're in luck because I'm a one-stop shop for that. So, you know what I'm saying?
Just so great. I mean, listen, they had to. They were like, "Yo, what are we gonna make them like?" So they could be like, "Oh, those are some aliens. That's some outer
Yeah,
space shit." Put a fucking ass ball on the head. Call it a day.
yeah,
Put some
perfect.
veins in there. Let them pulsate a little bit.
Yeah, that was the craziest shit. Like when you see like they would have like thoughts and shit, and then you just see the shit like on the
Now,
side of their
yo,
head.
realistically, they were dicks, but they weren't really like they didn't physically attack anybody. Yeah, they made them think they were burning in some craziness because they had weak minds. You can't. Them niggas got strong minds, but like they weren't really like very violent. They were trying to, and I guess you learn towards the end, like they were trying to get down with people to teach them their ways and or learn ways, and what does it always come down to? Humans are a bunch of assholes. We can't be assimilated into nothing because we
Yeah,
ain't trying to hear it.
yeah, totally. You know, they just figured like humans were like a bunch of dumbasses that they can control, and then Pike showed them differently, and they were like, wow, like like
Oh,
you
so
guys,
you guys will kill yourselves if we try to enslave y'all?
yeah,
We don't need that. We
like
don't need to
oh.
clean up that mess.
Oh, you guys don't like it? You guys don't like being slaves? Oh, like my bad. Like You're
Oh,
good.
yeah, I
You're
could
good.
go. You
Yeah,
could
yeah,
go.
yeah,
That's all you had to
yeah.
say.
Like like that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? That's actually like probably why a lot of people involved with the show like have admitted that the cage is probably the best representation of what Star Trek ultimately is.
Yeah.
Ult- ultimately is. You know what I'm saying? I know Major Barrett, who played number one and then went on to be Waxana Troy in Star Trek: The Next Generation. She also played the computer on various productions of Star Trek. Also, like most famously, she went on to be Mrs. Gene Roddenberry until his death, and then unfortunately her death. And she admitted that was probably her favorite episode of the original series of Star Trek. You know what I'm saying? Because it was the most Star Trek. It was it basically took everything that Star Trek was and it just put it into this episode. You know what I'm saying? It was the best representation of it.
I
And
mean, I think it probably was because look where it went to. Like true fans know of the cage. You know, I mean, maybe I'm a true fan now because you put me on, but in the beginning I didn't. But true fans probably know of this episode, and there are people who are probably going to hear this and now go watch the episode. And look where Star Trek is. We're at Picard, his own show, pretty
right,
much around
right,
him. Like you know what I
right.
mean, with so much body of work in the middle.
Absolutely. There's a reason why the show has persevered. Over 50 years now. We're going on like soon it'll be 60 years of Star Trek, and there's a reason why, and everything that's great about Star Trek is basically perfectly encapsulated in this episode. The alien element as well as the human element, was
Yeah.
exploring strange new worlds, and all that stuff, but also keeping forth that human element that where everyone can relate to. So yeah, The Cage is a great episode. If you haven't watched it, you really should. um it's a great episode, like great representation of Star Trek. If you want to know what Star Trek is all about, you can't do no better than starting with The Cage. Obviously it doesn't have to have Bones or Uhura, the rest of the great cast, but it's a perfect place to start. Like we said, it's on Netflix as well as Prime. So if
But
you
you
go
know,
ahead.
um, and it's funny because I have Star Trek playing in the background, and you mentioned Uhura in the cage. I believe there was no black actors or actresses.
No,
You know what I'm
no.
saying? And I'm not even being on no race shit. I'm just saying there were no black actors or actresses in that one. And now look into the Star Trek, like it took over with the new cast. They made a prominent role, black female. Like you know what I mean? Yeah, they didn't make the
Absolutely.
female number one, but they went ahead and made a black female a prominent reoccurring role that she's not gonna die. She's not one of those shirts. Like, you know what I mean?
No, but she was. Remember, she was number one. She was after Riker was promoted to captain, she became his new number one officer when
Right,
on the
right, right. But I'm
Enterprise.
saying like when the series Star Trek like
Right,
took
right,
over
right,
after
right.
the cage, they
Yeah,
put her in. They
yeah. I
did like a
got you. I
random
got
black
you.
chick that they.
I got you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because Star Trek is all about inclusion. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
you had a Jewish guy playing. I mean, although people didn't know he was Jewish, what I'm saying, because he's supposed to be Vulcan, but Leonard Nimoy was Jewish actor. You know, uh, you
I
had
didn't even know that.
yeah, you had Walter Koenig, who was Russian. George Takei is Japanese. You had Nichelle Nichols, who's black, and you have William Shatner, who's Canadian. So, you have all this, inclusion, kind of kind of togetherness of the races, if you will. And I mean, that's the basis of Star Trek, showing that as a race, what I'm saying, we're all one race, the human race, and we're all together in this. So what I'm saying, like we should all
Boldly going where no man has gone before.
no one has gone before. No man has gone before. You know what I'm saying? It's kind
I
of like
I drop, man. You know what I'm saying? You know what? You're right. That's very asshole of me. We are people.
nah,
You're right.
like
You're right.
nah, like they figured it out halfway through. You know what I'm saying? Like it was no man, and then they was like, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like let's no one because women will
No, you're right. We 100%, 100%. We are one people.
absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, yeah, the cage is a great episode. You absolutely should watch the cage. It's on Netflix and it's on Amazon Prime. You can find it as episode 0, because it's not technically not an episode. But yeah, like if you want to start off with Star Trek, you can do no better than the cage, and I highly recommend it.
Oh, 100%. Like I said, you told me to check it out. We were gonna do this podcast. I checked it out. I enjoyed it. I watched it a few times because there's some things like you want to see. You want to be like, oh, I might have missed this and whatnot. I think I think it sets it up right. How we got a whole new cast in the original series, but I can even look at it as like their predecessors, like a shit before. Like they like probably in this world they're retired or something. Like it
Hmm.
was good.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. It was great. But yeah, can't recommend it enough. And that concludes this episode of Big Beta Broken Bros on the Bridge. Next episode, like to give you a tidbit, we're going to be going at random. Like the initial idea was to go from the very beginning. This is why this has led to the reason why the cage is the very first episode, but we decided we wanted to go at random because we just wanted to focus on Star Trek as a whole. You know what I'm saying? So, every new episode is going to be a surprise. We're going to pick episodes at random. So stay tuned for that. Mac, I cannot thank you enough for doing this with me.
Nah, you already know, man.
You are my number one. You know what I'm saying? I can't do this
Got
number
you,
one.
bro.
And
I
also,
got you, man.
to thank you, you know what I'm saying, for those who are listening, my boy Mac here is an essential worker and he is out there every day risking his life, you know what I'm saying, to take care of, the people he's in charge of. He works in the medical field, and I just wanted to give a big shout out to you and all the essential workers out there, risking themselves, doing the Lord's work, and can't say enough good things. So shout out to you, bro.
Nah, thank you. And 100%, every state, everywhere, all listeners, essential workers, people who are going to work, states ain't doing right by us, but it is what it is. We're gonna keep doing what we do. We'll get through this. Hopefully sooner than later. It's when we get through this. And to the masses, if y'all got Facebook, definitely check us out on Facebook. But if you got topics that you might want, like Star Trek, you can definitely drop there, and we try to get at it.
Yes. You can find us on Facebook as the Big Beta Brooklyn Bros on the Bridge, a Star Trek podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Big Beta Brooklyn Bros on the Bridge. You can find us on Twitter as 4B on the Bridge. And yes, if you have any topics you would like to hear us discuss concerning Star Trek, we would love to hear it. We would love to hear your feedback. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love to hear everything, all your comments and stuff, and if you like this, we'll do more. And if you don't, we're still gonna do it anyway.
We're still gonna do more.
we don't give a fuck. We still gonna do it. But to the viewers out there, what I'm saying, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you on the flip flop.